Okay, folks, last question on the test. Describe key organs involved in the digestive tract and describe the role of each. Well, obviously, we start off with the mouth. Food goes in the mouth. We have teeth and a tongue there that mush up the food and break it into smaller particles. The idea of the first whole half of the digestive system is to get the food broken down to the molecular size so that it can get absorbed into the body. So the mouth chews the food up really well. The esophagus, which is basically a long tube surrounded by smooth muscle, squeezes that food down to the stomach by peristalsis, that kind of earthworm-looking movement that smooth muscle does. We get to the stomach, and the stomach is wrapped in 3 layers of smooth muscle: longitudinal, oblique, and then basically a horizontal or some that circles straight around. So anyway, you have 3 different layers of muscle that all squeeze in different directions. So the stomach will kind of shorten and then elongate, and then the oblique muscles kind of twist it like a dish rag. So you can imagine kind of squeezing a dish rag, stretching it out, and then twisting it. What the stomach does that for is to basically squish up the food. The stomach produces hydrochloric acid and some other digestive enzymes that help break the food down. The hydrochloric acid breaks down things like fats and proteins, chops them up into smaller and smaller chains. Once the food finally leaves the stomach, the liver, you can see the liver is over here, and the pancreas kind of underneath the stomach, they both contribute digestive enzymes that help prepare the food or continue to break the food into smaller pieces and break it down molecularly and make it more suitable to be absorbed. So then the food travels on to the small intestines. The small intestines are 20-25 feet long or so, about as big around as your pinky, perhaps, maybe a little smaller. But the inside of the small intestine almost looks like shag carpet, with these little structures called villi and microvilli that are full of little tiny blood vessels. And the small intestine's job is to absorb nutrients. So the food doesn't just go inside your guts and slosh around. It actually goes to the small intestine from the stomach. It's basically a purified or a liquefied mess at that point, called chyle, C-H-Y-L-E. But when it gets there, it travels through that small intestine, and it goes through essentially a labyrinth of these little microvilli, little furry-looking cell extensions that soak up the nutrients. As it squishes through there, the nutrients are sucked up into those little blood vessels. Now, what's left over at the end exits the small intestine down here and enters the large intestine, also called the colon. Now, some of you may know, like right off here, I didn't draw it, but right off of here, where these two join together, that's your appendix. And sometimes the appendix can get inflamed and have to infected and have to be removed. Anyway, the remnants, the leftovers of the food, whatever doesn't digest, corn, like the skins of corn and lettuce and parts of a peanut or popcorn husks and those kind of things, anything that's fibrous that doesn't digest, it's cellulose basically, will make it to here, and then it starts kind of getting dehydrated and compacted as it travels through the colon. Now, living in the colon are billions upon billions of bacteria. Now, normally people hear bacteria and they think, oh my gosh, that's awful, we got to get it out of there. But these bacteria are actually quite good for you. They help break down some of the food, and they also produce vitamin K for you, which is an essential nutrient that you need. But these bacteria make up a good portion of what finally works its way over here and leaves the colon, and you leave that behind in the bathroom. But the bacteria makes up the vast majority of that, and without that, everything that went through your colon would just come out liquid, basically, and so the bacteria help kind of slow that process down and make that a little more controllable. And they also provide some nutrients for us, and that gives the large intestine time to reabsorb. We reabsorb a large quantity of the water that's in the small intestine as it passes through, just because we have to have that water or that food very watery when it goes through the small intestine. Once it hits the large intestine, we reabsorb a lot of that water, and otherwise going to the bathroom would be a lot messier, and we would dehydrate a lot easier. So that's the digestive system rundown right there. Mouth, esophagus, stomach. That does not go through the liver and pancreas, but they contribute. Then through the small intestine, large intestine, and out. And that's the end of it.